The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into the latest edition of Crossed Flags. I'm Steve West alongside Matt Nicholson here. We thank you very much for joining us. We also thank behind-the-scenes work by both producer John and producer Molly here this week, as we always do, because we appreciate their efforts. Well, it is post-Mexico City. That's what we're going to be talking about throughout this whole part of it. Let's go over this first real quick, Matt. Your impressions of NASCAR, specifically the Cup Series. We'll worry about the Xfinity Series later. On the F1 track, I mean, we've seen that obviously at Circuit of the Americas, but now they're at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Your initial impressions? Do you think they're okay there, or is it kind of an ill fit?
Quite honestly, that was more like a IMSA GT race.
Okay.
I wasn't completely sold on it because I'll give one section of the track in specific. Going into the stadium section, that was a little bit too slow for me.
Okay.
A little bit too technical of a track for those cars, because there wasn't really that many opportunities for good, to me. Now, everybody's opinion may be different.
Sure.
But to me, there really wasn't that many good opportunities for passing. You either had to muscle somebody out of the way or catch them sleeping.
And we saw a good bit of muscling, that's for sure.
And there was quite a bit of muscling.
Yeah.
I'm not totally sold.
I'll say this because we've got this tendency here lately to do 3 years and then, I don't know, poof out of the way or whatever. Witness LA Coliseum, witness maybe Chicago Street Course, things like that, the Bristol Dirt Race. All those seem to be going in the 3 years and out sort of way of doing things. And they haven't confirmed it yet, but if they do indeed return to Mexico City next year, would it be a good idea to maybe not do the complete F1 track, and instead of being so intricate in and around that stadium area, try and make it a little bit straighter?
It's really the only option that they've got, because when you look at the different layouts of it, yeah, they years ago they used to go behind the stadium section, but now that's been really kind of built up to a point that you really can't.
All right.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe because of the aspect of how weather come into play, like it did, it was just something about the race Sunday just really didn't click for me.
Okay. Saturday the same way, or Saturday better?
Saturday is a fraction better.
Okay.
Not much. It's just something about these heavy stock cars that's on that track. It's just something that's just not jihading with me.
And let's face it. I mean, the track wasn't made for those cars, and those cars weren't made for that kind of track.
No, because you shouldn't. And this is me talking with the helmet on.
Okay.
You shouldn't have to go from. And whose car was it that I was watching the telemetry on? I'm wanting to say it was Elliott that had the onboard on, and they had the telemetry up.
Okay.
You shouldn't have to go from fifth gear at 175 down to first gear at 47 just to make a corner.
And that's what road courses will tend to do, especially ones like COTA and ones like the one in Mexico City. And
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit there and state that every time because it's just too laborious. But again, these are tracks that weren't really made with the idea of having NASCAR being on them in mind. They were made with the idea of having Formula One put on them.
True. And the overall, I was really taken back. I mean, just from aerial shots and camera shots of where they had some of the cameras placed, seemed that the overall atmosphere was very good.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a little bit taken back and surprised that all of the stands and the seating at the track was not open.
I noticed that as well, and I was a little surprised by that too.
I was very surprised that the front stretch area was not 100% full.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably, by my best visual guess, probably 75 to 80%.
Yeah.
Stadium section was good.
It was. When you think about it, though, favored son, Daniel Suarez, he's racing. And after having won on Saturday, knowing he's got a pretty good bullet for Sunday, too, yeah, it's surprising they didn't come out necessarily in the droves that one might have expected to support him.
Won the race Saturday on the international provisional, which defaulted them from winning points or money. So basically, that was just a free victory for Junior Motorsports.
Exactly. And partially for Trackhouse. They can take some credit for it.
Partially for them, too, because they supplied the pilot for the seat.
Exactly.
But the team overall, they didn't get a dime out of it.
No, which
is dumb.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in the big show on Saturday. What we really want to talk about is going back to Sunday. This made it truly international. I mean, you're talking about the American Motorsports Series of NASCAR coming to Mexico City, and the guy who wins on Sunday is from New Zealand. His name, Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG. We got a picture of him here. They did a nice job. They brought out the podium that you expect from Formula One, put him in a nice sombrero and a pretty decent little trophy. And this puts him into the playoffs. But the thing about it is, you have seen a lot of this. You and I both know about all the keyboard warriors. Okay. Let's real quick look back at Saturday. Daniel Suarez won in Mexico City. Oh, congratulations, NASCAR. You just continue to fix races, don't you? Well, we're done. Congratulations to you on your keyboard warrioring. You haven't got a clue. Daniel Suarez is not a slouch when it comes to road course racing. And he has a good bullet in a Junior Motorsports car. So, no, this isn't NASCAR fixing it. If NASCAR wanted to fix it, he'd have claimed the pole. He wouldn't have wrecked the car. He wouldn't have had to made his way through 38 other cars. He would have claimed the pole, and he would have led from start to finish.
Yeah, he would have. And might I add, too, I have now a secret little affirmation with that Quaker State car with that flat black scheme. That car was secretly, deceptively very sharp to me.
The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
It was
a racing podcast.
Sleek.
Yeah.
And like the saying goes with design of the car, sometimes cleaner looks better.
Sure.
But I wasn't overly surprised that Suarez won the race Saturday because of, one, who he was driving for. Two, he was arguably had the most experience in the field around that specific circuit.
Absolutely.
So he was the legitimate odds-on favorite to me.
I agree. But you transfer that to Sunday and you go, well, why didn't that work on Sunday? Well, it kind of did. If you look at how good Daniel Suarez ran on Sunday and where he finished, it was better than his average finish over the course of the year. But you also got to remember the competition steps up as well when you go from Xfinity up to the Cup Series. So he's dealing with people who adapt a lot quicker to their particular track, just because of the fact that that competition demands that you adjust that much faster. You have to.
Absolutely. And something from Sunday that stuck out to me that Christopher Bell said, which Saturday he drove the second Sam Hunt car just to get laps on the track because he's never been there.
Right.
I heard him say in post race on Sunday that he felt like actually running Saturday hurt him.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because of the differences, how vastly different the cars are and how they drive from one car to the other. Right. Even though you're running the same layout, they drive different, horsepower levels different. So it's going to be like, what am I doing? Just basically more it's rhythm, what I call rhythm practice, getting yourself in a rhythm of hitting your marks.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Xfinity car, by the time you grab fourth gear, you're just hoping you don't tack out and hitting a rev limiter by the time you get into turn one. Cup car, you got fifth gear, you can go into basically overdrive and hope you don't overshoot the corner because you're going to be buried firewall deep into the tire barrier.
Right.
So
which Daniel Suarez knows a little bit about that.
Yeah, he did that in I think it was turn 11 he did that.
Yeah.
But I'm just, from an overall standpoint, I'm not completely sold on it. I'm just not.
The complaint, okay, so we dealt with one complaint, Daniel Suarez, okay, this is NASCAR fixing it. Now the other complaint goes to Sunday. And they're complaining about the fact that a guy who was sitting so low in the standings can get a win and automatically be in the playoffs. I don't really personally see a problem with that because he was able to win. Does that mean that he's horrible on the rest of the tracks, or does this mean that he's just having a, maybe not quite the year we would like him to be? He was in the same area as 2012 champion Brad Keselowski before he claims the win and puts himself into the playoffs. What is the complaint here? He's doing what he needs to do within NASCAR rules.
These people that are sitting in Aunt Betty and Grandma Susie and Mama Dolly's basement on their computer being little keyboard warriors, press the power button and step away from the keyboard.
Yeah.
Cut your phone off, step away from the keyboard.
Right.
First off, you can't point a finger at Trackhouse nor Shane Van Gisbergen for doing their job within the boundary of the rules that are set for everybody to play by.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Secondly, this is one thing that everybody has got to look at from start of the year to current day. Up until the Coca-Cola 600, if anybody can sit and legitimately say that Trackhouse was setting the world on fire, you're dumb.
Right.
That they haven't been. There were a lot of questions of what is wrong with Trackhouse. Trackhouse is not even in the same zip code as they were in last year. They're not even in the same galaxy they were in last year. Why are they so far in left field? All right. But then you see the Coca-Cola 600 come around when Ross wins that race.
Mm-hmm.
You, from then to this past Sunday, not one car, but all three cars, you've seen them progress to the positive side of the pendulum.
Right.
All three have progressed. Has it been leaps and bounds? Absolutely not.
Has it been
but they've all progressed.
What they need to do?
Okay, it's like they found something. Okay,
right.
And if people would have listened very, very, very carefully to what Shane said on the post race, and these words stuck very clearly to me. And no, I was not talking about him having a stomach virus running the race. I'm not talking about that.
Right.
Being another stomach virus race, i.e., Tony Stewart Watkins Glen. He basically looked at, I think it was Dale Earnhardt Jr., he looked at him square in the eyes and he said, last year to this year, Xfinity to Cup car this year, everything that I learned in Xfinity last year, I had to take it, ball it up, and throw it in the trash.
Sure.
because it's two completely different race cars. He said, I've had to basically relearn the ovals all over again because I'm driving a completely different car.
Yeah.
He said, I picked up on basically what he was trying to say. He didn't say it word for word, but I picked up what he was basically saying. I'm now driving Australian supercars sitting on the left-hand side of the car versus the right-hand side of the car because they drive so much alike.
Yeah. That's an interesting note. It is.
They drive a lot alike.
Yeah.
And case in point is probably one of the reasons why he does not, versus when he won Chicago in 2023 versus current day, he does not allow TV cameras or TV broadcasters or the broadcasting crews to put foot cams on his firewall now.
Right.
He doesn't allow that.
Yeah, I heard that during the broadcast.
That is smart.
It is, absolutely, because
smart.
He's got a way of doing his pedals that is a lot different from really every other driver that's in the Cup Series, and there were 37 of them on the track.
He basically said it on the post-race show.
Mm-hmm.
He uses the clutch to turn the car.
Yeah.
It's perfectly smart because when you push the clutch in, that basically frees the drive line up and gives it more flex.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
But back to the point here. After the 600, you've seen all three Trackhouse cars progress to the positive side. Mm-hmm. Even Shane, he's gotten better. He's picked it up on ovals. The more laps he makes, he's getting a better grasp on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a couple weeks ago, there was somebody, I'm wanting to say, it may have been Jordan Bianchi, the Trackhouse.
Sorry, I got a thunderstorm over the house, so if you hear that in the background, I apologize.
Yeah, I can. The skies are darkening up over here on my side of the state as well. Yeah. But why would you even sit there and think with somebody that's been on ovals for only basically 2 years in two completely separate race cars? Tell me I'm dumb, but two completely different race cars, and you're having to relearn your craft all over again. Mm-hmm. Why would it even be in the realm of possibility that they would lose their seat? That's stupid.
Agreed.
That is absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
Now, you watch what happens when, and I'm going to use Shane for an example. When Cup cars get more practice time on a track, where is he generally at? Generally, he's on average, top 15, top 20 at worst.
Yeah.
He's up there. But when they got short practice time, 20 minutes, which you really can't legitimately dial a car in 20 minutes, because if you start out unload off the lift gate in one form, you go out there and it's completely in left field, you may be anticipating the racetrack being tight, and anticipating the track being tight, and you go out there and the track is completely loose when you got your car free for a tight track.
Right.
Now your car is what I call double loose. So now you got to go reverse all those changes, set it back up to where it's more neutral, but you may not hit it the second time. It may need that much more, or it may need that much more.
Yeah, you're trying to do that in a 20-minute practice session. Yeah, that's almost impossible. Yeah,
it's impossible. Exactly. And then when the time clock goes off, and you're like, okay, we got what we got. I hope we start higher than 30th. Okay, but you automatically know when the series rolls through the gate of a road course. You automatically know that car 88 is going to be within the top 3 on any given week. Legitimate shot.
Yep.
But to sit there and discredit him, might I add, for he tells his crew, he tells this Josh Williams, his spotter, and Steven Duran, stop telling me to slow down. Stop telling me to slow down.
Right.
And he goes within a 10-lap span, he goes from 9-second lead to 16.
Mm-hmm.
He knows his craft.
Yeah.
Okay.
And continuing to pull.
He is in. This is the comparison that people are trying to say. Oh, it's just like Harrison Burton burning a playoff spot up. Okay. First off, we debunked that theory this year in race 3.
Sure.
It ain't the car.
Right.
It ain't the car, because Josh Berry wouldn't have went right out and won that early if it was the car.
Yeah.
Okay. Trackhouse is in more than ample, very respectable, good equipment.
Oh, yeah.
To where he can get the job done on an oval or a road course. But when you're trying to compare this to a Harrison Burton situation, Daytona, Talladega, and now at Echo Park, say that. Let me get politically correct here.
I would say that to a lesser extent, though.
That's has become more of a luck track.
Sure. Yeah. It is the great equalizer. Especially Daytona and Talladega.
It's an equalizer.
Yeah, to a point. Echo Park. We're talking Atlanta Motor Speedway for those of you that are still stuck in your old ways.
Would this same point be being brought up if Parker Retzlaff had won Daytona last year?
That's an interesting question.
Would the same point be being brought up?
That's an
road
interesting
courses.
Question.
You have to be on your game from a technical standpoint, from a physical standpoint, and a mental standpoint.
Right.
That's not a fluke win.
No. And let's face it, I mean, SVG, this is the first time that the entire series has seen this track. What happened a couple of years ago, which brought SVG into NASCAR on a full-time basis? He wins the first time the entire field's out on a new track, Chicago. He had the ability to adapt that quick to this kind of a track because he has seen this sort of a track before in a car that he is somewhat familiar with, because his equation of these Cup Series cars, this generation of Cup cars, is so close to what he was driving when he was down in the Supercar Series.
Yep. And he goes out. Now, argue with the wall on me on this one right here. Anybody that wants to dispute me, I really don't care. But from now until time of the playoffs start, he's got a better than 75% chance, in my opinion, of entering the playoffs with at least 3 more wins.
Okay.
Sonoma, Chicago, Watkins Glen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're in a stretch right here of races that I think really do kind of match up with SVG's way of doing things. I mean, yep. Pocono is a triangle that really runs very much like a road course because each of the 3 corners is very different. We got Sonoma coming up. As you mentioned, we got Chicago coming up. These are tracks that really do play to a strength of SVG. So no, I don't have any complaint about any of this at all, because I really believe that it's going to work out very, very well. So just watching as SVG learns these cars more and more, I think it's going to be a real big benefit to him as he continues to roll on.
Now, let's just say the other ones that have won 3 races: Hamlin, Bell, Larson. Let's say that they don't win another race before the playoffs start.
Sure.
He wins 3 more. Who goes in as the top seed in the playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, the seeding order totally changes at that point in time. So it should be interesting.
It completely flips.
Yeah, I agree.
And he goes in the playoff rounds. Okay. Let's hypothetical scenario. He goes into the playoff rounds here. He wins Sonoma. He wins Chicago. He wins the Glen. I think he's going to be out for redemption at the Glen after last year.
Oh, I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
All right. He goes into the playoffs as a, let's just say, worst case scenario, a top 3 seed. All right. He survives and gets out of round one, he doesn't have to use any mulligans.
All right.
He gets out of round one clean. He's into round two. What's laying in round two? The Roval.
Uh-huh.
He wins the Roval.
He moves on to round three.
He's solid in the round of 8.
Sure. And guess what's looming in the round of 8? The great equalizer of Talladega.
And I'm pretty sure last year I watched him in a colleague car, drive through the pack and lead quite a few laps.
Yep. He's learned that pretty quick. He really has. He's learned the art of the tracks like Daytona and Talladega. He's learned it well.
The people that's trying to compare this situation to Harrison Burton, here's where I'll put the bow on it. Harrison Burton has been in stock cars and seen every one of these tracks multiple times.
Right.
Shane hasn't.
True.
Shane hasn't.
Yeah. And I think we now understand why SVG's up in the Cup Series.
Big difference.
Yep. Big difference. All right. Well, since we're talking about him being in the playoffs, let's look at it right now. These are the guys that are in. These are the 10 drivers who are locked into the playoffs because they have wins. And in playoff seeding order, Kyle Larson, 3 wins. Christopher Bell, 3 wins. Denny Hamlin, 3 wins. We understand that. They get the bonus points along with it. We talked about during the big show last weekend, Denny Hamlin asking for that waiver because of the birth of his boy, because it preserves those 3 wins. Number one, preserves 18 playoff points as well. And Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell also have a good number of playoff points. Then you got all these drivers with single wins. And yeah, you see a big gap. Shane Van Gisbergen's 242. I get that. I understand that. But again, he's not the only guy that was down that far who could end up doing something. We're starting to see more than just Ryan Preece and Chris Buescher start to click when it comes to the Cup Series and RFK Racing. We're starting to see that 6 car come to life a little bit. Does it mean he'll get into the playoffs? I don't know. But does it mean he could win? Is he a danger to win? Absolutely 110%. But looking at these guys right here, and I get it, we've got 6 more slots here. But let's just talk about those that we know. Kyle Larson, obviously, he's a threat at any time. Denny Hamlin is that guy who, and I said this last year, and I'm going to say it again. Until that 11 team proves to me that they're not going to do something that hurts themselves, I get a hard time picking Denny Hamlin as a titleist. But you look at those other 2 names at the top. Kyle Larson's already got a title, and Christopher Bell has been a finalist in the Final 4 more than once before. And it seems more a matter of when than if he's going to actually claim a Cup Series title.
Right.
Who else from this group are you looking at and going, yeah, I can see him, and or him going on and being a legitimate title contender?
Out of those 10, if I had to go with a final 4 right now, it's going to be the 5 car.
Okay.
5 of the 20.
That seems, yeah, I think you and I are in agreement on that.
But he's been, as bad as I hate to say it, as much as he's been up and down too much a little bit for me. I can't put Hamlin in there yet.
You've heard my reason.
From a consistency standpoint, I'm going to have to put the 24 car.
Okay. So you're going Larson, Bell. You're going to go Byron.
Larson, Bell, Byron. And because he's had the flashes of consistency when it's need to be seen at the tracks that come up into the playoff rounds.
Okay.
You're gonna call me crazy, but I could legitimately see the 21 car sneaking up there.
Josh Berry. It's interesting because you and I are certainly in agreement on the first two. I mean, Larson and Bell, you've got to understand why they're in the position they're in, why they've got 3 wins, why they've got so many points on the year. And I didn't include the playoff bonus points in that, but that's not really a matter. William Byron is one of those weird little situations because he comes out like a house on fire, and he's done this before. Comes out like a house on fire, and then for whatever reason, when the temperatures go up, he cools down. And while consistency is great, consistency will only get you so far. Witness the 9 car of Chase Elliott. Man's amazingly consistent, hits top 10, it seems like, just about every time out. But while that will get you into the playoffs and might get you a round or 2 in, sooner or later, you're going to have to put that car up and make sure that it is battling for a spot in victory lane, if not parking it there. And I don't see that out of the 9 car enough. And I'm in that position now with the 24. So William Byron, to me, is, to use our fantasy league equivalent, William Byron would be my garage pick. And while they have been radically inconsistent, I really think that these guys are going to smooth things out. And I'm looking at the 2 guys who are the last 2 champions, or 3 technically, because Joey Logano sandwiches the 1 by Ryan Blaney. Those guys have speed. They have quality cars. They just find themselves in an odd situation here or there, and they get themselves into DNFs at inopportune times. But heck, Denny Hamlin does that, and he does it in the playoffs. Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano tend to make things shipshape by the time they get into the playoffs. So for me, it's Larson, Bell, Blaney, and Logano.
But those names on that list right there, I'm going to go back and say what I said just a minute ago. He keeps gaining momentum and gaining confidence on the ovals.
Yeah.
And combining it with strong road course runs and wins.
Yeah.
The big time sleeper in this right here is Gisbergen.
I think SVG sleeper A. I think sleeper B is the other one that you mentioned just a moment ago, and that's that 21 car for Josh Berry. Because
I'm going to say it's the other way around. Berry sleeper A, Gisbergen sleeper B.
Okay. Well, either way, those 2, and because I don't think there's a clear delineation between 1 and 2. That's why I put them as A and B. I think they're 1A and 1B. What we know of the 21 car is that it is the de facto 4th Team Penske team. And we know that Team Penske puts out quality cars, reliable cars, by and large, ones that are fast. And Josh Berry is, in a lot of ways, like Shane Van Gisbergen. He's getting used to this car on these tracks after having spent a couple of years on the Xfinity Series side of things, which means he's had to relearn this car and has had to relearn the tracks. So he's in a lot of ways in a very similar position to SVG. And right. I see what you mentioned earlier on in this podcast out of SVG. I'm seeing that in Josh Berry too.
Yep.
So absolutely. Those 2 guys, watch out for them. And now obviously this will change because we've got 6 more slots to fill. And if you just look at the guys that go from 11 down to 16, which include the likes of Chase Elliott and, well, the 2 Chases, Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe, the guys who are just on the outside looking in, like Ryan Preece, who has suddenly found someplace that he's really comfortable in. We talked about the strength of RFK Racing. It's going to be real interesting when we revisit this again and we get into those 16 who we know are in the playoffs and we do this again.
Right.
That's going to be the fun part of it.
Right.
Pretty busy weekend this weekend on the track. As a matter of fact, the only series that we cover on a regular basis that is not running this coming weekend is Formula One. Everybody else is. We'll give you the preview of it all, plus give you all the news of the week. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Carson Hocevar, they just seem to find each other every time, and at some point in time, somebody's going to throw a punch. I can see it coming. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about a whole lot more. That's on the big show. Don't forget to join us this Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time on CRN Live on YouTube. If you can't check us out on the local radio station in East Central Alabama. Thank you very much for joining us here. We thank producer John for all of his hard work, producer Molly for all of hers. And on behalf of Matt Nicholson, my co-host, I'm Steve West. We will talk to you this Saturday. Make sure you join us then for the big show. And, of course, don't forget about us right here on Crossed Flags, and subscribe and comment right below. We love to see the comments, and thank you to everybody who has gotten us up over 150 subscribers on CRN Live. We appreciate you too.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.